Donovan Mitchell, he's a bad man.
To its feet. Vaccaro slammed it home. Garland left wing, free ball. Perfect! Garland one of the lane, lob to Mobley. Pow! And Allen blocked the shot at the rim. Pow! With the left hand and a foul.
Welcome to the Chase Down Podcast, part of the Cast Media family. I'm your host, Justin Rowan. The Chase Down is presented by Fubo TV. Watch over 100 channels of live sports and TV for half the cost of cable. There's no contract and no commitment. Try for free at FuboTV.com. The Cleveland Cavaliers did not get off on the right foot when it comes to this West Coast trip. They were not able to build upon the success of their win against the Golden State Warriors with a frustrating loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Joining me now to discuss it is my co-host, Carter Rodriguez. Carter, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that really is a microcosm for the night, it's the 5-second violation down 6.
Yeah,
in the game. It was not a fun one, Justin.
Just one more turnover for the road. Yeah, it was a very, very difficult night. And honestly, like when they came back against the Indiana Pacers and weren't ultimately able to pull away from that, I was frustrated. I was like, you know what? This is one that they really could have had. They just weren't able to capitalize. When they came back, they really made it a game in this one, and then it slipped away out of their fingers. I was sitting there, and I'm going to be tough talking podcaster in my chair right now, Carter. I was like, you know what? They didn't deserve this one. They did not deserve this win, and like I just didn't want it to be a situation where, you know, bad habits were being reinforced and whatnot, because, you know, they do need to clean up some of this stuff. Some of the issues that we've seen in this game were recurring issues, and we know now that they are capable of playing better. We have seen them play really well against some good opponents, come away with a quality win against the Knicks shorthanded with extra effort, really, you know, digging in deep against the Golden State Warriors. That wasn't the Cavs team we saw tonight.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why it's especially disappointing. Is as always, your expectations are going to color your personal reaction to these sorts of things, and like the reality is, the Cavs had this nightmare start to the year with all the injuries and, you know, all the health issues to start, and they're still not healthy, by the way. Yep. But they put together their best 48 minutes of the season. Really, I think kind of indisputably. I don't think they put together 4 good quarters like that at any other point this year. And so you're like, okay.
To clarify, against Golden State.
Yes. And you kind of go into this one thinking, okay, they've got at least their starting lineup back. They're a little bit more equipped to start making that push, start showing us the team that we really thought we were getting to start the year. And it's just a stinker. They shoot 61% in the first quarter and are down 7 because they had 9 turnovers. The Darius minutes have been really, really rough. 8 turnovers in this one, only 3 3-point attempts. Donovan was 1 of 9 from 3. The Cavs are shooting about 31% from 3 for the season right now, or 32% from 3 for the season right now. And you just
I'm blaming you for
that
Donovan, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I'm blaming you for Donovan. You just had to bring up that he was averaging career best and everything, and then he has an 8 for 23 night. And honestly, like I thought Donovan's night from an offensive standpoint, like he wasn't taking a bunch of shots. I was like, you know what? I'd like to have that one back or whatever. I thought offensively, I was good with his game tonight. Some shots just didn't drop. He just wasn't getting the help from everybody else. And to me, one of the more deflating aspects of this game in particular was I thought they actually started on the right foot. I thought they came out and were executing well offensively. And, you know, they got out to an early 6-point lead. And it was Darius that he had those early turnovers that really seemed to hurt the momentum. A lot of those went for easy baskets the other way. And just forcing passes where they didn't need to be forced. And, you know, 8 turnovers to his 9 assists tonight. Just too many times where I feel like in the past, when Darius leaves his feet and gets an assist, it's usually he's making a read. I have an advantageous situation. I'm leaving my feet to get the defender to react. And if they come up on me, I'm going to make a dump off pass or I'm going to throw a lob. If they're not, and they're still kind of playing off of me, I'm going to hit the floater, or, you know, depending on where he is on the court, maybe he makes a kick out pass. But too many times I feel like he's leaving his feet against a set defense and then making the read after. There was a play in the fourth quarter where I think he expected Evan Mobley to fill the lane, and maybe Mobley should have filled the lane in that spot. But Mobley had not filled the lane, and it was a bounce pass to an empty lane that went the other direction. Luckily, Shea traveled on that one, but I just feel like he hasn't been his normal self, and I feel like he's trying to get himself going with some kind of razzle-dazzle and spectacular plays, and it's just doing too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just doing too much. It's not being the organizer of the offense. I mean, it's a lot of plays where he is just, and I don't know if it's the hammy, I don't know if it's the reps, I don't know if there's anything else problematic, but like he's just going into no-win spots. And by the way, again, he is driving into congestion when he can just take shots.
Yeah.
And that's a tough pill to swallow, man. I know the jumper hasn't been falling for him, and you know, and I'm sure that's a contributing factor here. But at only 3 3-point attempts tonight. I can't help but be disappointed. I think both of us were really expecting and hoping for a breakout year for him, where we both kind of were like, okay, he's really gonna take this offense up to another level. And you know, with all this extra shooting, all this extra space on the floor, the Cavs offense has been demonstrably worse than last year. And some of that's due to playing some really strong defenses, but some of it's due to poor execution and just not making shots or taking the wrong shots at the wrong time. And I don't know, man. It feels like I think I'm especially frustrated just because I was expecting them to have figured some stuff out. And I kind of feel like it was such a regression game, but like, you know, we're 8 games in, and I just don't know if the team has put 3 good quarters of basketball together in a row more than once, maybe twice. And this is where it's so hard, because you want that to be a definitive statement, but you also know you were playing Amani Bates and CPJ, and you were playing your guys that you weren't even expecting to play early in the year. So a lot of those quarters are a little colored by that. But I think everyone's just kind of ready for it to start. You know,
these growing pains happening earlier in the season, you would be okay with that. You would be understanding. But unfortunately, we had the false start with those injuries. So, you know, as much as intellectually we understand that this is going to take time, that, hey, Jared Allen's having his minutes managed right now. Darius clearly isn't all the way back from a conditioning standpoint. You're without Isaac Okoro, right? Like, there's so much context, and we understand that. But also, just like as a fan, you've burned through some patience already, and it's not fair. It's silly, and I understand that. But I also have to acknowledge kind of how I feel. And it would be one thing like if the turnovers were coming as the result of we're playing at an increased pace and therefore, we're taking some chances to try to gain advantages in transition or to really like kind of promote movement within the offense. That would be one thing. I gotta laugh, Carter. You putting the solo cam on yourself during my monologue is just great. This is
your camera got messed up, and I needed to reset it. Thank you for completely derailing the show.
That's okay. You know what? It's post game was a lot of fun. There's turnovers in the Chase Down podcast, just like there are on the court. But if that was the reason for those turnovers occurring, I would be more understanding of that. But I really don't feel like that's the case. I feel like I think the most kind of relevant example is what you brought up earlier about Darius Garland not taking those 3-pointers that are available to him. Because if you aren't taking those threes that are, the defender is far enough away where you're going to get a pretty good look and you're driving into a contested defense, you are going to make things more complicated. You're going to make it much, much, much harder on yourself. And you're going to end up in situations where you're going to have turnovers, where you're going to have tough shots because you drove into the teeth of the defense. They're just on the whole, they're making things a little harder on themselves than they need to be.
Yeah, I think that's certainly fair. I think it's a group that you hope for a little more continuity from them. To start the year, you hoped for, all these preseason camps that, you hope that it would feel good. And it just doesn't feel that good right now. And, we haven't had those stretches where, really, the other problem, I think, in terms of the kind of the vibes is the Cavs have had runs, but they're typically runs to take deficits from 12-4 or 14-2. And those are nice, but like they're not quite the same as the Cavalanches that we kind of fell in love with these past couple of years, where all of a sudden it's a competitive game and it's just over because the Cavs went nuts. We haven't had it once, 8 games in.
Yeah.
And you don't always get those, but good teams typically do. And every now and again. And I think especially when you're looking at your peers in the conference, Boston, every time you look over, they've lost 2 in a row. Thank God. My psyche couldn't take this unstoppable run from them. But early in the years, every time you look over, they're up 30 or something like that. And then Milwaukee, I feel like they've been figuring things out, and it just kind of doesn't feel like we figured stuff out yet, and that doesn't feel very good.
Yeah, we got to get that cathartic kind of feel-good blowout win. It would be great to have it on this trip. And, that is one of the nice things about when you do go on these road trips where, there's no distractions of day-to-day life. These guys have opportunities to work through it. Thank goodness they have 2 days off after this one. I feel like they came into this one feeling confident after their win against Golden State, and that came back to bite them. Like, I just don't think there was the same attention to detail. I don't think there was the same level of focus because, obviously the turnovers stand out, right? When you throw the ball to the opponent and they go running down the other way, or you throw it off their foot and they go down the other way and score, that's going to be frustrating. But what really kind of grinded my gears in this one was the point of attack effort just wasn't there. They weren't getting into the ball and disrupting the offensive players' ability to get into the paint, and disrupting the rhythm, making it harder for them. And they had done such a good job of it. And it would be so easy to sit here and say, well, Isaac Okoro wasn't there. He's their best perimeter defender. But we saw them do such a phenomenal job against Golden State. We saw them do such a good job against the Knicks shorthanded, where they were really digging into it. And we saw them do a very good job in the second half. They won the third and fourth quarters because they started digging in more defensively. Sure, there were still some lapses, but you're always going to be giving up something defensively. You're going to have lapses within the flow of a game. But if you're giving up a whole bunch of uncontested runs to the rim, it's going to make things a whole lot more difficult. And looking at it, last year, the Cavs were 15th in terms of frequency of shots at the rim. Mobley and Allen cleaned up for a lot of that, but they allowed quite a bit of penetration from the point of attack. Coming into tonight, they were 7th because they were doing such a good job making up for it. Maybe some of that was even the absence of Jared Allen, knowing we don't have that same level of back level protection, so we have to really be assertive at the point of attack. But they were doing a great job forcing teams to play from mid-range. And I think you see a good example of this with the Milwaukee Bucks, where you look at Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and both of those guys, you know, they were in a debate of which one deserves Defensive Player of the Year last year. And okay, we're going from Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen and all these, you know, point of attack defenders, but we have Giannis and Brook to clean up behind me. You know, that's not as effective if you're allowing those clean runs to the rim. Milwaukee is near the bottom when it comes to their defensive rating early in the year, just because that point of attack defense wasn't at the same level. And I think it's the same thing for Cleveland. If you're going to be playing with a smaller backcourt and smaller wings overall, the effort has to be there. Otherwise, Mobley and Allen aren't going to be able to clean up everything.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I do also think they kind of got punked to start the game, to be completely honest. I think there was a degree of, you know, Giddey is an enormous point guard. And he went straight into Darius's chest a few times, got clean, easy looks, knocked him back. And I thought the Cavs maybe overreacted a little bit there. It's just, it was just pretty rough, man. And a lot of it was just Shea. Shea walked to his spots. He walked to his spots. Mm-hmm. There was, and I don't know if there was fear about his foul drawing ability, which is prodigious. He grabbed 13 free throw attempts, mostly on, you know, a lot of that foul baity kind of stuff. Yeah. But man, it was pretty pervasive, you know. Really the only times I felt like the Cavs were consistently making it hard on OKC was when like Isaiah Joe was out there running point. Right. It just was just a really bad effort. I thought it was the worst of the year by a lot. And you know, luckily the Cavs aren't in the West. That's what I'll say. You know, mm-hmm. where a rough start to your year could be the difference between, you know, a 1 or 2 seed and like the play-in. Where I think the East is just a lot more flat, you know. The Cavs win 2 games. You know, they
have a lot of teams going through changes. Yeah,
they're 2 games back of the 4 seed, you know, early on. And I promise that's not seed watch, more just about kind of how flat everyone out East it has been. But like, you know, the point differential stuff is scary. They're down 10 a lot right now. A lot.
And they got to start off better. Like that's the bottom line, because they are using up so much energy to come back in these games, and that's not where you want to be. You want to be more consistent. You want to start off well. And you know, I'm not playing armchair psychologist or anything like that, but sometimes I think, you know, they look around and they're like, hey, this is the most talent that I've had around me. This is a great roster. We should be kind of cruising to victories, and the league is just so talented right now. And especially when you look at the schedule to start the year, like they have been playing only teams with top 10 offensive ratings. Like they have been playing teams that have real serious goals this season, and you are going to have to come out and you have to set the tone. You have to dictate the terms of combat pretty much, and say, we're playing Cavs basketball tonight. We're going to, you know, put pressure on the rim. We're going to force you off the 3-point line, and we're going to prevent you from getting to the rim and force you to take mid-range shots. Like, that's Cavs basketball, and the identity of this team is a team that works hard. They're not going to be able to just out-talent and cruise to victories when you know the league is as talented as it is.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You know, just a rough one, man.
It is a rough one, and I apologize, Carter. I mentioned this on the last podcast, but you do such a good job as a producer and dealing with technical issues on the fly. And right now, it seems like I'm having some camera issues, so apologies to the YouTube audience. But you know, that is a third-party app I should clarify. That's causing some of these issues. None of these issues are caused by our wonderful partner, Zoom, because support for this podcast and the following message comes from Zoom. 500,000 businesses connect using Zoom, a single platform for phone, chat, workspaces, events, apps, and video. Zoom enables real-time collaboration for teams around the globe. Zoom, how the world connects.
That one's
Carter,
not going to make it onto
it...
the ad reel, man.
No, but it is important to clarify that it is not a Zoom issue. I do want to give a shout out to Caris LeVert because I thought he was the best Cavalier tonight. I thought he was one of the few guys that was actually getting out there and, getting into the offensive player and making it difficult for them to dribble. I thought his defensive effort was very, very good tonight. Listened to the OKC broadcast for a quarter. I love being able to do that on League Pass just to hear what they were saying, and they were very complimentary of his defense and career high 16 free throw attempts. He looked over at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's like, we're roughly the same build. I'm going to play like you tonight. And him going out there 29-5-5, just a really, really nice effort from Caris LeVert on a night where not a lot of people had it going in a two-way manner.
It was really funny watching our Discord game thread channel because someone kind of mentioned that they're really enjoying watching Caris this season because he's the only player who's decisive, who doesn't dribble too much, who shoots when he's open. I'm like, what?
Look at our guy. Look at our guy, Caris LeVert.
Yeah, I mean, we've been making a lot of monkey paw jokes, but this year, but like, those are the things we've been begging Caris to do.
We have won, but at what cost? Everybody has got hurt.
Yeah. And Caris has been. I agree with the summer. Like he's the only player right now, maybe short of Donovan. Definitely short of Donovan, who's catching and immediately lunging into that first step attack off the dribble. He's getting cleaner angles to the rim than he's gotten in his entire Cavaliers tenure. I think the three-pointer has been up and down a little bit recently, but I think the form still looks really good. I think the interior passing has been really, really strong. I thought he was the only one who even stood a chance against SGA tonight. I think everyone else was just getting run off the floor. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones where like, don't let the box score lie to you. Yes, he was minus 14, which was worst on the team, but I really do think he was crucial to them even staying close.
Yeah, I was going to say this is one of those games where single game plus minus doesn't tell the full story because, the Cavs starters came in early in the fourth quarter when OKC had a lot of their bench guys on, made a run then to close the gap and get back into this game. And Caris, he was giving really strong effort throughout the night. And I do want to give some credit to Evan Mobley as well. I thought how he got to his points was a little inconsistent tonight, where there was times where could have been a little bit more decisive, but overall did have an efficient night, getting 22 points. Not a great night on the glass, but there also wasn't a lot of defensive rebounds to collect because the Cavs were just allowing so many baskets for OKC.
Weird game. I mean, SGA and Holmgren led the Thunder with 7. And Strus had 7 for us. No one even had 8 rebounds. I'll bet that hasn't happened in an NBA game in a long time.
Yeah, there was 41 rebounds on both sides, equal
67 free throw attempts.
Yeah, 64 points in the paint for the Cavs, 60 for OKC. Like it was just one of those nights. So misses have to occur for rebounds to be there. But I just want to see, him get a little bit more comfortable. I think the stops and starts to the season, the inconsistency with who's been in the lineup has led or, at least contributed to some uneven play. But the reality is, like what we talked about coming into this season was Darius Garland and Evan Mobley need to take a step up because their progress is going to dictate the ceiling of this team because we know how good Donovan Mitchell is. We know that Jared Allen is a top 10 center and a really effective player that works with these guys. Those are our big swing pieces. Those are the guys that when they are at their best, the Cavs go from a good team to a great team. And they really are drivers of success on both ends of the court. So I just think that at times you see Evan Mobley show the polish, show the processing and the composure that we expect from him, and other times it just looks a little hesitant, or it looks like he's pressing just a little bit. And I think he's taking steady steps towards being as effective as a scorer as he has been in the past. But there's still times where it looks just a little bit uneven. But we definitely have to give him credit for the defensive end of the court, because he was once again phenomenal. I thought a lot of the breakdowns were happening at the point of attack, but in terms of, his ability to clean up a lot of miscues, it could have been uglier than it was if you didn't have Evan Mobley out there and the minutes that Jared Allen played as well.
Yeah, I think one thing I'd like Mobley to kind of learn from his front court Pierre and Allen is Allen just attacks the rim with a lot more force than Evan does. A lot of the spots where Evan and like a lot of spots where Evan's bringing the ball down, pump faking to try to get flybys, like Jared's just kind of attacking with more reckless abandon, with more physicality, and like, I just want to see him do that. Like Jared got 9 free throw attempts in this game by just going into Chet's chest when he had advantage. Like, now there were times where Chet got Allen just as good as Allen got him because he didn't have advantage. So like, but like if you already got a step, you gotta like, get a shoulder into his chest and accentuate the angle you already have. And Mobley doesn't really do that right now. I think that's one of the reasons we like him against 4s compared to 5s is he just doesn't play with that forward force a lot. And it's not about being, again, I don't think Jared is like demonstrably stronger than Evan. I just think it's a style thing and an application of how he's using his body on the way to the rim. And so that would be the one note, but yeah, I thought he had a really nice game overall. 22 points, an efficient shot diet. He made his free throws. I didn't think he took a lot of shots that made me cringe. Not a lot of turnovers despite those active hands that OKC has. Like
the driving floater in the fourth was really, really
very nice. Very nice to see. So
yeah, man.
I think I wouldn't put this one. I don't know if I want to say anyone on the Cavaliers played particularly well except Caris, but I think Evan kind of has to be the next domino.
Yeah, honestly, I might put Jared Allen ahead of him. I really liked the minutes that Allen played, and you wish that he wasn't working his way back from his injury, and you could get the normal kind of 34 minutes you would see from Jared Allen in a matchup like this. But 14 and 6, 3 stocks in 25 minutes. I really liked, taking it at Chet Holmgren. Like you said, like how decisive he is and just the way that he attacks. Like he doesn't attack the rim in a variety of ways, but he's decisive and he goes up strong. And maybe, Evan's trying to make the read of, okay, do I go floater here? Am I looking to make the read as a passer? Like there is more responsibility on his shoulders this season. So I think he's thinking a little bit too much, and it's just not instinctive at this point. And again, some of that could be attributed to different guys in and out of the lineup and just how disjointed the teams felt overall. But that decisiveness, especially for someone with like the quick twitch ability and the second jump ability, really, where he can go up and catch a high pass and go up strong for a dunk as well. Like that's stuff that he flashes, and that's part of why he's such a good finisher at the rim. But sometimes just recognizing when you have when you're catching the ball with advantage and you're able to go up strong, just going up strong and putting your body, I think that's a really smart note. But I did want to give a shout out to Jared Allen, because I did like seeing him put Chet under the basket, get him into early foul trouble. Like all of that stuff was really encouraging. And frankly, I've been very encouraged with what I've seen from Jared Allen since he's come back from the injury. I think he's moving around really well. It doesn't look like he's, cringing or still dealing with lingering effects. And it just really feels like the team took the right approach with him, took the necessary time, brought him back at the right time. And even though you could use more minutes from Jared Allen early on, you're still giving him that runway to get the conditioning back, making sure you're not overworking him, playing the 82 game approach, knowing that you're going to need him healthy and effective in the playoffs when you do get there.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair, and I do agree. I think, as I mentioned on the last pod, they do feel like they're at their best when those two are out there together still. I thought their passing off of Holmgren to one another when the defense was set was really, really good. Obviously, Chet had a very nice game, so it's not like they completely neutralized him, but I thought they did as good of a job. I felt the most comfortable. I think OKC kind of identified over the course of this game of like, when SJ has the ball, we're not running screen and roll action because I'm worse off with Evan or Jared on me. I'm just gonna go cook, Max Strus or Darius or Donovan, and I'm gonna walk to my spot and take a pull up and bet that whatever spacer the bigs are on, they're not gonna want to leave them. Correct choice, I would argue. So I
shout
think
out to Max Strus, by the way, 4-6 from 3.
It was nice
getting that percentage back up.
It's nice to see him have a solid game. Still filling the stat sheet. It's just it was just not a fun one. And I just think I think this fan base is just really thirsty for like a 3-game win streak. Something just to make it feel like, oh, okay, there you are, Peter. And that I think in the meantime, it's probably just going to feel a little sloggy. I can't reiterate enough, though, the reality that if they started out 7-1 and then they had a 3-5 stretch at the game 32 mark, I just don't think we're feeling this way. I just think it's really bad timing because, everyone's coming off the 1-4 against the Knicks, like, and that matters. It adds when you're looking for good vibes and you're getting bad vibes. That does affect the mood, and you just kind of hope that the locker room is resilient enough to not get into too deep of a funk because we talked to Donovan about this at Media Day, but I feel like this is a team that really does need to play with a looseness and a joy and a fun. And I think that's what's so hard about when things aren't going your way early in a season is you have to try to somehow make a thing that is not very fun right now fun. Locker rooms have to be really resilient for that reason.
Yeah, and you got guys that take a lot of pride in their craft and how good they are as players, and they get frustrated when they're losing, and I think that's what leads to some of the pressing you see, right? They're trying to do a little bit too much, right? It's like you said, if this occurred in the middle of the season, I think there would still be panic and unease, but it would be less so because it wasn't the start of the year. And we did have, January where 16 games played 500, 8-8. You had the 5-game losing streak early in last year, and all that's good and all that's, useful context. But I think the most important thing is we need to see it. We need to see these stretches of consistent basketball where, okay, the lapses they have only lasted for 4 minutes instead of a quarter, or they put together these runs, they blew out a good team, you get that feel good win. They just need to start doing that. And they're probably, like, looking at this now, like, I think it's fair to expect that there's going to be more hiccups along the way. But you've got 2 days off. You got a big test against Golden State. That they're going to be wanting to get revenge. Playing in Golden State is not easy. That's not exactly what I would call a get right game, but if you get it, it can feel pretty damn good. Little bit of an injury update before we wrap this thing up. It is late. Big thanks to everyone that tuned in live and is sticking with us. Chris Fedor did mention that spoke to some people. Isaac Okoro, it's still the same knee that was bothering him in the playoffs. This is something that he was playing through, but the team's taking a cautious approach, similar probably to what we saw with Jared Allen. It does not expect him against Golden State, so they will once again need to dig in and provide that point of attack defense by committee. And that's reporting from Chris Fedor. We'll see how he feels over the next two days. Nothing's official yet, but just noteworthy context there. And obviously we hope that Isaac feels better as soon as possible.
It's freaking lingering as injuries, man. It just feels like they're so hard to action, so hard to know. What you just want clarity, and I feel like we don't really have much these days with a lot of these lingering injuries, which stinks.
Yeah, and to top it all off, I think I'm dealing with like some plantar fasciitis, Carter. Like this is just
I'm sorry, buddy.
That's the real concern. That's the real concern at the end of the day. It's impacting my podcast performance. Let's be real. Big thanks to everyone that tuned in live on YouTube. We know this is a late one, not a lot of fun after that OKC game, but still, plenty of time to get this right and plenty of things to discuss. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Make sure you like and subscribe, click the notification bell so you know when we're going live. If you're listening via podcast and you want to support us, leave us a rating, leave a review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and help cook those books. If you want to be part of the Chase Down's exclusive Discord chat, send a screenshot of the review to chasedownpod@gmail.com. However you choose to support us, we really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. Until next time, go Cavs.